Live, local, late breaking. You're watching KOLD News 13 live at 10.
New at 10, it's mission accomplished. Two men who once fought side by side in Afghanistan reunited tonight on American soil. This emotional embrace happening just moments ago at Tucson International Airport. It was a group of local veterans who made it their mission to save the Afghan soldier and his family from the Taliban.
KOLD News 13's Hannah Tita was there to capture the moment he arrived in the old Pueblo. And Hannah, it was quite the welcome.
Yeah, it sure was, Brooke. Halzam was met by cheers as Southern Arizona veterans and their family members waved welcome signs. It's been a long journey, but he's finally here.
A beautiful moment as former comrades, now friends, embraced for the first time in 7 years.
I don't know how to explain this when I saw him. I'm happy about that.
Like it's long overdue.
Tony Short served in the U.S. Air Force for 22 years. In 2014, he was deployed to Afghanistan, where he met Hizam Amari. Hizam was there for him when it mattered most.
29 January of 2015, we had an insider attack. Had it not been for him and the relationship we had actually built and our communication between each other, I would say, unfortunately, it would have gone much worse.
So when Kabul fell and Tony had the chance to return the favor, he did. With help from Operation 22, a nonprofit that supports military veterans and first responders suffering from PTSD, they were able to bring Hizam here, saved from the Taliban.
And we actually removed about 15 Taliban and what we considered other insider threats. So yes, I believe the Taliban would have been looking for him.
Hizam, his wife, and their 5 children, ranging from just under 1 year old to 16, will make Southern Arizona their home. A generous neighbor and Air Force widow recently donated her husband's car. A local business is providing the free labor to fix it up. And Operation 22 is collecting items and funds to help them get on their feet.
You know, kind of gives chills to just know that, you know, he will take the oath of an American citizen, no different than we take the oath to be a military member and to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America.
Halzam's family will meet him here in Tucson just as soon as he can secure a place to live. He hasn't seen his wife and his children for 5 months. We'll post information on how you can help on our website. Live at the airport, Hannah Tita, KOLD News 13.
Welcome home to your new home, Hamzeen. Well, now it's time to look to the weekend with Chief Meteorologist Aaron Christensen and a nice weather to welcome a new resident to Tucson.
I think so, yeah. Temps in the upper 60s, though, so it will be a little cooler from what we had today. Not going to warm to that 77-degree high like what we registered this afternoon at the airport. Our wind is going to be picking up tomorrow. Southwesterly wind gusts up to about 30 miles per hour, and those clouds will start to increase, although you won't notice as many tomorrow as what we'll have on Sunday. We're calling it partly cloudy Saturday, but then mostly cloudy, overcast at times for our Sunday. 69 degrees for a high Sunday as well. But the wind at least gives a little bit of a break on Sunday before it returns next week. Those gusts will start flaring up pretty early here, especially across Cochise County. By noon to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the strongest gusts across Tucson, Green Valley, Sahuarita in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range. But we're also updating our rain chances through next week. I'll have those changes coming up.
We are in a crisis. The hospital systems will collapse.
In an open letter, more than 1,100 healthcare workers are imploring elected officials and state health leaders to do more to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Some of those healthcare workers hosted a virtual press conference today to reiterate the demands set forth in that letter. KOLD News 13 Shaley Sanders joins us with more on why they say the current situation is unsustainable.
I think what we're asking for is a backup plan. We've burned through all of our backup plans.
Dr. Ruth Frankston-Edicor is one of the more than 1,100 doctors who signed this open letter, demanding more consistent mitigation measures to help ease the strain on our state's hospitals.
We've gotten really creative with the resources we had at our availability. We stretched the use of PPE. I don't think, actually, I know there's no more backup plans. This is it. We are at collapse.
The letter, in part, ask hospital systems to adjust and enforce consistent hospital visitation policies, require N95 masks for everyone working in patient care areas, and KN95 masking for visitors, provide access to rapid response COVID-19 testing within healthcare facilities for workers, and enact efforts to stabilize, recruit, train, and retain healthcare workforce to improve staffing.
Just this morning, I sat in the office of my own 80-person plus hospitalist group, and I sat in the office of the practice manager. And she looked me dead in the eye with her tears in her eyes welling up, and she says, my 2 admitting physicians for this weekend just informed me that they both have COVID. She goes, I don't have anyone to admit patients to the hospital.
These healthcare workers, including Dr. Christina Bergen, are also calling on elected officials to do more to protect communities.
Urgently increase testing capacity, availability, and accessibility to include widespread mass testing sites. Reintroduce the widespread mass vaccination pods, administering boosters and vaccines.
And as these healthcare workers strive for more mitigation measures, they say they are continuing to struggle with the emotional toll this pandemic is taking.
We see scores of patients die without time to process these traumatic events.
We have an opportunity to change course. Inaction by our hospital leaders and lawmakers at this moment during the pandemic will be viewed by the healthcare community as an informed decision to ignore the health and safety of the communities we serve, and an attack on those sacrificing their health and safety to care for their community.
Now we have that open letter posted right now on our website with information on how to put your name on it if you'd like.
The Food and Drug Administration is now recommending a booster dose of Moderna 5 months after your second vaccination. They used to wait at least 6 months. The FDA already shortened the time between doses of the Pfizer vaccine. Inmates inside Arizona prisons will now be offered their boosters. They're being rolled out across all 10 state prison complexes and the Arizona Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry's 6 private contract facilities. Officers and professional staff are also being offered the booster if they've been fully vaccinated.
Pima Community College is ramping up its mask mandate on campus. In a letter sent out today to students and staff, masks are required inside and they must be surgical grade or higher. Cloth masks will no longer be allowed. This comes days after the University of Arizona made a similar mandate for its campus, which also applies to the McHale Center. Tonight, the Wildcats held their first home game since the change in the mask mandate. At the door, people were handing out the proper mask for those who needed it. Inside, signs were being held encouraging people to keep those masks on, and it looks like most complied.
Now, it's time for the KOLD Sports Desk, sponsored by Desert Diamond Sportsbook, Arizona's best bet.
All right, friends, Damian Alameda here. As Dan was just talking about, after nearly a 3-week hiatus, Wildcat women's basketball back to work this evening in their Pac-12 opener without both Lauren Ware and Shayna Pellington. Ari McDonald, though, in the house. Very special evening as she was later inducted into the Arizona Ring of Honor. More of that in a few. Last year, though, Washington State, one of the Cats' few losses, thanks to the Ledger Walker sisters, Charlize and Crystal. First quarter, even though the Cats jumped out to a 6-0 lead, Charlize was able to put Wazoo on the board right there. But it did feel as if Arizona would run away with this early on. Coy Love, fast break courtesy of a Sam Thomas pass. Cats shot 5 of 10 in a quiet quarter for both teams. In the second, though, the Cougs surged to take the lead at the end of the half. Joanna Teeter, a deep 3, gave Wazoo the 3-point lead with under a minute to play. Cats trailed by 1, 24-23, heading into the locker room. Second half, though, Arizona returning to form. Sam Thomas getting the rock to the hot hands of Helena Puello, 3 of 4 from beyond the arc. Arizona up 10. Then in the fourth, Kate Reese off guess who? Sam Thomas. Thomas with the career-high 8 assists tonight. Reese with the game-high 20. As Arizona held off a crazy late Wazoo charge to keep their record a perfect 11-0, 60-52 Arizona, your final in what was Adia Barnes' 100th win as the Cats head coach.
Me and Sam, Ari, we've all been here. We took a chance on Arizona when they weren't good, and we really wanted to be a part of the rebuilding process, so it's great to kind of see some of that through. Obviously going to the Final Four last year, and then now with Via making a milestone like 100 wins is great, and I'm really happy that I could have been here to see it.
Remember, folks, 4 seasons ago, Barnes Wildcats won a total 6 games in what was her second season. She is the fastest Arizona women's coach to reach the 100-win mark, and it took her 166 games. But back to tonight's festivities after the win, as has become the custom. Arizona banged that drum, Kate Reese taking 10 swings to represent their 10 wins before handing it off to Aerie McDonald for one last hit, signifying win number 11. And then the Wildcats inducted McDonald into Arizona's Ring of Honor. Some of Aerie's Arizona records include career leader in points per game, single season scoring, single game scoring, never mind all the conference and national accolades like Pac-12 Player of the Year, All-American status, and the Ann Myers Drysdale Award. And now forever will her name hang in those rafters.
I remember Adia and I was talking about this. She was like, it's going to take like 5 years. And I literally get a text like months ago. They was like, oh, you're about to go in the Ring of Honor. I was like,
it used to take, it took mine probably like 15 years. So, but she was a little bit more important than me. She got in faster. She has way more clout than me.
but nah, it's a blessing. I'm up there with great company.
McDonald's second season in the WNBA begins when her Atlanta Dream visits Dallas in May. Guys.
What an exciting night. Thanks a lot, Dee. A big step tonight in the process of closing the prison in Florence. The announcement from the Arizona Department of Corrections.
The company hired to do the Arizona election audit is no more. Why cyber ninjas shut down. And the 8th episode of Disappeared in the Desert is out now, a KOLD original podcast focused on the murder cases of Isabel Celis and Maribel Gonzalez. This week, we reveal new evidence against suspect Christopher Clements, not previously known to the public. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, or SoundCloud.
A big step tonight in the process of closing down the prison in Florence. That's about 80 miles northwest of Tucson. Tonight, the Arizona Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation and Reentry telling us Core Civic has been selected to house up to 2,700 adult inmates at its La Palma Correctional Center. That's in Eloy. You might recall Governor Ducey called for the closure of the Florence prison back in 2020. The department says the long-term cost of keeping Florence open is expected to cost more than $500 million over the next 3 years. The contract with that private company will give the department flexibility of inmate movement depending on the population. The KOLD News 13 crime team has learned that the Pima County Attorney's Office is beginning its investigation into a fight between an off-duty Tucson police officer and 2 women in a local restaurant parking lot. Today, Tucson police delivered evidence from the incident at the Culinary Dropout parking lot to the Pima County Attorney's Office. The Attorney's Office says the review of the evidence will be deliberative and thorough. The fight took place back in November last year. The women claim Officer Robert Zawiski sped through the parking lot and almost hit them, which led to an argument between one of the women and the off-duty officer. Tucson police say he took 2 of the women to the ground and attempted to restrain them, identifying himself as a police officer.
Tomorrow marks 11 years since the deadly attack at a Tucson grocery store. Tonight, fresh flowers lie at the memorial that permanently sits outside the Safeway at Oracle and Ina. It was a day that changed Tucson forever, and each year the city comes together like it did on that dreadful day to honor the lives we lost. 6 people died in the shooting. More than a dozen more were injured. Shooting survivor and former Congresswoman Giffords and her husband, Senator Mark Kelly, will attend the January 8th memorial event tomorrow morning. It starts at 9:30 with a remembrance ceremony in the courtyard at the historic Pima County Courthouse on Church Avenue. Then at 10:10, the moment of the attack, a bell will ring for the victims and survivors. Speakers at the ceremony will include Mayor Regina Romero, Acting Pima County Administrator Jan Lesher, and January 8th survivor Ron Barber. Though the event will take place outside, masks will be required. The 3 men convicted of chasing down and killing Ahmaud Arbery were all sentenced to life in prison today. Travis McMichael, his father Gregory McMichael, and their neighbor William Bryan Jr. were found guilty of felony murder. The 3 claimed they were trying to make a citizen's arrest because they suspected the young black man of burglary. They followed Arbery in a truck and shot him outside of Brunswick, Georgia in 2020.
For a young African-American male, this day means quite a bit because it tells me that America can meet its promise, that there is liberty and justice for all.
Only the neighbor, Brian, will have a chance at parole. The 3 still face federal hate crime charges. The company Arizona Republicans hired to audit the Maricopa County election is shutting down. Tonight, Cyber Ninjas tells CNN the company is closing because it is $2 million in debt from the Arizona audit and ensuing legal attacks. Last night, we told you how Maricopa County election officials refuted all of Cyber Ninjas' claims about validity of ballots in the 2020 election. In fact, the county says 76 of the audit report's 77 claims were false or misleading.
President Joe Biden visiting Colorado late today to offer comfort to the thousands of people who lost their homes in that devastating wildfire. It destroyed over 1,000 homes and businesses in 2 heavily populated suburbs just outside Denver last week. Authorities identified one of the victims today. A second person remains missing. Dania Bacchus reports on the president's trip.
President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden witnessed firsthand the devastation left by historic wildfires in Louisville, Colorado.
We're going to do everything we possibly can. We're going to make sure that everything you need occurs, including clearing all the debris and putting people in a position to be able to rebuild.
The 2 toured the demolished Harper Lake neighborhood, stopping to comfort several families who lived there and lost everything.
The way you're going to get through this, because we've been through a few things ourselves, is just hanging on to one another.
The president and first lady also met with first responders. In just a matter of hours last Thursday, flames fueled by 105-mile-per-hour winds consumed over 1,100 buildings in 3 communities. About 35,000 people evacuated ahead of the fast-moving wildfire. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. Earlier this week, the Boulder County Sheriff announced investigators are focusing on property in the area owned by a Christian fundamentalist sect. A passerby captured video of a burning shed on the property right before the fire spread. Dania Bacchus, CBS News.
And up in Washington State and Oregon, massive flooding is closing down several stretches of highway. Cars and drivers left stranded, needing rescue. No word on when the interstate will reopen, but the Washington State Department of Transportation said current weather forecasts show floodwaters are expected to recede on Sunday. What a mess they're dealing with up there in the Northwest. Other parts of the country getting hammered with snow. And meanwhile, we've nothing but sunshine today.
Yes, this is true. We've seen that storm track way to the north because of the La Nina pattern that's been kind of taking over. And that means that the Northwest will just see storm after storm after storm. So whereas that floodwater is going to be receding here through the course of the weekend for those folks, unfortunately, we're already seeing another couple of storms lining up just behind the one that brought on that flooding. We'll take a look at that in just a bit. But in the meantime, we give you a bird's eye view of what we're working with across the western U.S. And you can kind of see where that trough, that dip in our jet stream that lies, this band of cloud cover right here. So that's between the trough and the ridge of high pressure. That's the very thing that's been keeping us on the warm side, brought our temps to 77 degrees today, just 3 shy of tying the record. And it's kept our skies mostly clear. But as we start to watch this trough dipping farther to the south, we see an area of low pressure kind of spinning off, becoming a cutoff low, just meaning separating itself from the main jet stream, the main flow of things way to the north. And that will help to scoop up some of this deeper moisture in the eastern Pacific and move it in our direction. So we do see this fetch of moisture moving into southern Arizona as we head through next week. But what I'm looking at here on this precipitable water graphic is that we're watching 2 other storm systems lining up here in the eastern Pacific that will eventually move through the Northwest. So more rain rain anticipated for the folks there. In the meantime, that little fetch of moisture will bring us some showers, but we have a couple of weak systems moving through. That increase in cloud cover this weekend, the increase in our wind, but eventually we do have that chance for rain, primarily Wednesday night into Thursday. It looks to be our best chance for picking up some measurable rain, but we could have a few sprinkles here and there come Monday and Tuesday. Low 10% chance of that, 30% chance Wednesday, 20 on Thursday. We do know the wind will be picking up. I already told you about the wind tomorrow. It'll take a break by Sunday, but those gusts return to start the work week close to 30 miles per hour. By the way, if you're headed out to walk the dog tomorrow, temperatures giving you the green paw here first thing in the morning all the way through noon. Pretty good temperature wise, even on that asphalt. You could also go take Usher for a walk. Usher is our pet of the week here, and he's at Pima Animal Care Center. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. That chance for rain increases Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Not fantastic, but Wednesday at this point looks to be our best opportunity for measurable rain at 30%. You're watching KOLD News 13 live at 10, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back. Tonight, a legend's name goes up in lights at the Apollo Theater. The historic marquee reads, "Rest in Power," in honor of groundbreaking actor Sidney Poitier. He passed away last night at the age of 94. Known for films like The Heat of the Night, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and Lilies of the Field, for which he won an Oscar. He was the first Black person to win the Best Actor Academy Award. That film was shot right here in Tucson, and Poitier returned here again to direct Stir Crazy in 1980. Apart from film, Poitier was a civil rights activist, author, and served as Bahamian ambassador to Japan. He was a dual citizen of the U.S. and Bahamas. President Obama presented Poitier with the Medal of Freedom.
New details tonight on a story we brought you here a few weeks ago. A Tucson high school baseball player has died from the battle with cancer. This is the announcement from the Western Little League team on Facebook saying, quote, "That's game. At 10:15 this morning, our Troy finished his final inning. He earned his wings and found his heavenly team. He was surrounded by love as he made the journey home." Troy Iturralde was diagnosed with stage 4 testicular cancer just the age of 16 last year. Even while sick, he was on a mission to encourage others to get their health checks.
Now, it's time for the KOLD Sports Desk, sponsored by Desert Diamond Sportsbook, Arizona's best bet. Now, it's time for the KOLD Sports Desk, sponsored by Desert Diamond Sportsbook, Arizona's best bet.
Thinking of you, Troy. How are you, friends? Damian Alameda back with you. The Arizona Cardinals have designated defensive end J.J. Watt to return to the squad after he tore his shoulder in the win against Houston. The designation meaning that Arizona can now activate Watt within the next 3 weeks, which is pretty impressive given that when he suffered the injury, it was believed he may be out between 4 to 6 months.
Having J.J. back is huge. He's a leader for us. And having a guy like that on the defensive line, getting pressure on the QB, it's always a big help. So definitely having J.J. back is a plus.
At the time of his injury, Watt had recorded 5 tackles for a loss, 2 pass deflections, and 10 QB hits. The Cardinals host the Seahawks with a chance to clinch the NFC West Sunday afternoon at 2:25 p.m. We'll be right back.
There's a look at the 7-day forecast. The wind picks up tomorrow. It'll usher in a few clouds, especially by Sunday.
Have a great weekend, Brooke.
Yes, enjoy. We'll see you tomorrow.